What features does Chrome or Chromium OS, Chrome OS or Chromium OS, have that you would like to see on more mainline Linux distros? Personally, I'm a fan of having a hardware switch to enable root access. This comes from Kanan via email. It's a good question, my man. There aren't a whole lot of features in Chrome OS that I dig. Some of the best features of Chrome OS are ones that I personally hate. For example, I hate auto-updating stuff. I hate that a Chrome OS will auto-update and download, and the next time you restart, the new updates are just applied. I hate that. I hate it so much. I want to be able to turn off updates entirely. I think having those auto updates, so it's just there when you restart, is just the worst thing imaginable. I hate it. What if it breaks something I was relying on? It's happened. I have a Chromebook, and I don't use it a whole lot, but I set up Crouton on there and had a Chroot environment. An update broke that. I had printing working on there. An update broke that. I had a couple of Android applications on there because Chrome OS on some laptops supports running Android software. So I was playing around with it and I was testing it out. I'm like, oh, it worked kind of okay. And put some Android applications on there. An update made it so a couple of those Android applications just stopped working. Now, that sucks. Auto updates suck. There are benefits to automatic updates, making sure that you have the latest and greatest security patches. I see the benefit there, but I'm the wrong target audience for that. I'm the kind of guy who's going to look at all of my updates and say, well, I only want 1 out of 17 of the available updates. I don't want the rest of them. So let me just throw those all away and I'll just take this one security patch. That's the kind of guy I am. And so I hate that about Chrome OS. I just hate it. I greatly dislike how they handle Linux software compatibility. So you can run Linux applications and that's great. However, sound doesn't work. Performance is abysmal. There's no GPU acceleration, at least not that I could get working. And so it really was a significantly worse experience than running a remote desktop sort of scenario where you were VNCing into a server somewhere and you specifically had sound turned off and all that stuff, because it was a worse experience to me than that. I could run Linux applications on it using their built-in new Linux compatibility layer, and it does work, but it doesn't work great. And it doesn't have the functionality that I would want in a Linux desktop, so I don't want that. Also, what's buggy is all heck. I've had several occasions now, and I don't even use it that much, mostly just to test. I've said several occasions now where what it did was it just stopped being able to access the Linux partition that it created entirely, including from the main Chrome OS side. So it was just borked. No new applications could start. You couldn't read and write the files. And simply opening up the file browser on Chrome OS just resulted in just things hanging because it got really wicked confused. So Chrome OS is just not that quality of a system. It's just not. I know that for many people who don't do a lot of these things and just want a web browser, it's a good system in that regard. I get that. The problem is Chrome OS is so not for me. It takes away my power. If I want to regain that power, it makes me jump through 50 different hoops, and those hoops are on fire and dipped in olive oil, and it's just not going well. And so I just don't like it. A hardware switch to enabling root actually is kind of an interesting concept. I'm a big fan of hardware switches in general, like hardware kill switches or hardware toggle buttons and the like. I like a good hardware switch. I mean, software switches are fine, like where you have a key that triggers a piece of software somewhere else, and it just really is intercepted as just a standard key press. I mean, that's all right, but I like a good hardware toggle. And then in this case, enabling root via a hardware switch is kind of cool. Yeah, I like that just fine. Like, I wouldn't mind being, but see, there's also limitations there too. No, I don't want that. I'm immediately thinking that through, and no, I decided I don't want that either. What do I want from Chrome OS? You know what? The one thing that would be cool is Chrome OS has put a focus on getting more application environments running on it now that people are like, great, I have a web browser for an operating system, and they made fun of that for long enough. And then Google was like, well, now you can run Android applications, and now you can run Linux applications, and pretty soon they'll have a couple more they'll throw in there just for heck of it, right? I like that. That's cool. So we have a lot of that over on the Linuxy side of things, Wine and Proton and what's the name of the one where it allows you to run the Android applications? I can't remember the name of the project behind that one, but that one works fairly sort of well, kind of as well. I would like to see distributions with a focus. I know this is crazy, and I don't think every distribution should do this because it just doesn't fit with most distributions, but maybe like a custom one with a focus on many, many operating environments. Like I would love to have a Linux desktop load up, and then on the left-hand side, and again, most desktop environments and distributions out there do not do this. I just want like one to do it because I think it would be cool like on a computer. It's like a demo. On the left side, maybe like a dock. Windows, DOS, Windows could run a little launch an Explorer clone. There's a couple of free software kind of Explorer clone type things that launches Wine and everything else. You can run Windows applications that way. Right below it, DOS, maybe in DOSBox, emulators for old computer systems, like just down the line. You know what I mean? Like just different platforms. A little Android button, so you click a button and then pops up an Android environment, and all of them have some ability to read and write to one common folder. Maybe like there's a folder in your home folder or something that they can all write files back into. Because that would be cool, right? Being able to run like an old Mac, a VMac, and an Apple 2GS thing, and an Amiga thing, UAE over here, and DOSBox over there, and all just point back to one folder, so you can kind of fiddle with it in whatever piece of software on whatever platform you want. That would be fun. But then again, Chrome OS isn't really doing that either. Chrome OS is doing more of that than most Linux distributions themselves do, but it's still not a lot. But that's the only thing that I'm like, well, maybe that. Maybe that. You know what? No, I take that back. There's one other feature that I would love to see in more Linux distributions or in Linux in general. I would like to see the ability to buy more off of the shelf in the computer store. I would like to be able to go down to Best Buy and buy Linux computers again. It's been a while, and there's way too many Chromebooks down there, and I would like to yank those out and put some real Linux computers in there. I know Chrome OS has Linux in it. I know. It's a Linux computer. It is. But it's not my kind of Linux computer. So I would just love to yank those out, maybe leave one Chromebook in there and start putting some more machines in there from all the various Linux computing vendors and some we've never even heard of before. Like I just think that would be fantastic. I know that's not a feature of the operating system, but it would be fun to see just the same. It's a good question, Kanan, and that's my answer. Brought to you in part by Pogo Linux, who made this machine back here. Oh, yeah, this is the Tempest. If you go over to pogolinux.com, you can configure your own Tempest however you want. Go into their workstation category. They've got workstations and servers and everything else over there. If you go into the workstation category, you can choose that case. Sorry, I keep smacking the mic. Choose your server, choose your workstation. My brain doesn't work today. And you can put whatever you want in there. It's awesome. If you look up on my channel or on my feeds or whatnot, you can find the episode where we talked about that particular beast. You can clone it if you want. You can build exactly what I've got back there, minus the super cool Miami Vice pixel art on the front. Or you can go over to lunduke.com or any of these other fine universal resource locators and stuff.